All right, let's talk about forces like barbell Jedis. It is July 4th week after all, so may the 4th be with you, huh? Hey guys, Coach Michael here at Starting Strength Boston, and today we're going to talk about forces a little bit. So I'm going to try to keep this video as simple as possible, but long story short, there are a few forces at play when we're barbell training, and they affect your body in different ways and produce a lovely array of physiological and anatomical adaptations. Structural adaptation, if you will, like a skyscraper. The main force, the king of all forces, if you will, like Arthur, not you, Arthur, but like King Arthur. Sword in the Stone. We got gravity, right? John Mayer, great guitar solo. So what gravity does primarily in barbell training is it gives weight to the bar, right? So if you just throw weight on the bar and you're like in space, it means nothing, it weighs nothing. So here on Earth, we got gravity, which is applying force straight down at all times in barbell training. It gives weight to the bar. So if you got 4 plates on each side, you got 4 or 5. That's because of gravity. So as a result of gravity, we got these 3 main forces happening during barbell training. These are all being applied to the body at various points of the lifts. They are compression, tension, and moment. So let's go through them. Go through that trilogy, Lord of the Rings style. Compression, right? It's a squishing force. So basically what's happening is anything that is beneath the load, so if you're squatting and the bar's on the rear delts where it should be, it's compressing everything below that, so your spine, your legs, and then the primary adaptation that's produced from that is thicker, stronger bones. So bones grow as a response to compression. That means from the second you unrack the bar and take it out on your back, the bar is compressing you, your bones are getting thicker and stronger and they're adapting, or they're being stressed rather, and then they adapt later. Tension is the opposite of that, the simplest way to think about it. It's a pulling force, right? So if you're like hanging from a chin-up bar, then anything between your feet and your hands is under tension. It's being pulled apart by gravity. And then also during the movement, there is tension at various points through your muscles, through your tendons and ligaments. Basically anything that is pulling against your skeleton is under tension. And so the primary adaptation that's produced there is thicker tendons, ligaments, and basically like anything stretchy in the body. And then the final force, kind of complicated for some people, so I'm going to talk about this one on its own a bit in a moment, is this one, moment force. So moment is a rotational force, and basically the simplest way that I like to think about it is that it multiplies the weight of the barbell as a result of how far away the joint is from the bar. So it's like a force multiplier, as it's outlined in this blue book right here. All right, so like I said, a moment arm is a force multiplier. So what the heck does that mean? Well, you have 2 main components, well 3. You have a point of force application, a point of rotation, and a rigid segment. So when we're training with a barbell, in the squat for example, the point of force application is the barbell itself. That is the force of gravity giving weight to the bar like I mentioned before. The point of rotation is any of your joints, so like the hip joint or the knee joint, and then like kind of the ankle joint. In the rigid segments are the different bones that exist between those joints. So if your point of rotation is the hip joint, point of force application is the barbell, then your rigid segment is your back. And then if the point of rotation is your knee, for example, then the rigid segment there is your femur. And so essentially, the further those joints get from the barbell, the greater the force of the barbell is multiplied, right? So I'm not going to go in depth on like which lifts have which moment arms and how much the force of the bar gets multiplied. But you know, that's a topic for a different video, and I'll probably make a video on each lift for that. But the main thing to realize is that the further the joint is from the bar, the harder it is essentially. So the things that influence that are like anthropometry. So if you're a long femured, short torsoed individual and you have to stick your butt way back in order to get way leaned over in the squat, then that barbell is like gonna kind of technically be heavier than it would be if that same person had short femurs and a long torso with the same amount of weight on the bar. And the final moment arm that we got here is the midfoot, which is the midfoot balance point, which is an unnecessary moment arm that can be introduced. So if you have the bar displaced from midfoot in the squat, for example, then the force of the bar gets multiplied between the bar and midfoot, as well as between the bar and the hip joint and the knee joint, all the joints that I mentioned before. So you have like a giant mess, like a giant moment arm soup, and the lift gets really, really difficult. A really simple example of this is in the deadlift. So if you ever watch people that don't have a very efficient deadlift, which there's a ton of on the internet, you'll see if they start pulling from forward of midfoot, a simple way to think about that is like the further in front of midfoot you have the bar, the more you're multiplying the weight of the bar. So you're basically just making the bar unnecessarily heavy by doing something like that. And the last force I'm going to talk about in this video is work. And so the way we think about work in barbell training is the amount of work done against gravity. So like I said, in the squat and the deadlift, we want the bar to move in as straight of a line as possible. If it's crooked and all over the place, you're exerting effort, but you're not doing work against gravity. And that's what results in a more inefficient movement. So having the bar out of the midfoot balance point, the problem is twofold. One is that you're not doing an efficient amount of work against gravity because the bar is getting all zigzagged and C-shaped. So you're moving it and exerting more energy than you need to. And then you're also multiplying the weight of the bar. So it's a compounding effect of it just kind of makes me sad to see, honestly, which is why I love helping people fix their squat and their deadlift here at Starting Strength Boston. Send us a message if you're interested in checking it out. Oh yeah, and then I forgot to make my stupid moment arm joke. You know, we have moment arm references in pop culture here and there. If you guys listen to Styx, they got a song called Renegade where they reference the long moment arm of the law. And if you're introducing unnecessary moment arms, then Pete Trupos is going to come down from the gallows and you don't have very long. So yeah, that's going to wrap up this video. If you guys enjoyed it, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see next. I think the next videos after this, after I've laid this groundwork, are going to be on the lifts themselves and how these forces apply to those lifts. But yeah, that's it. Have a great day, pal.